Ruby McFarlin was born July 20th, 1895, somewhere in Arkansas. She was 50 years old at the time of her disappearance in 1945, so there aren't many interesting details about her past life and her hobbies. So let's just get into the case. Just after midnight on October 31st, 1945, Edna Barker, a roommate at an Evansville, Indiana boarding home, reported hearing an unusual commotion outdoors. As she glanced out of her second-story bedroom window, she observed Ruby lying on the steps near a side entry. Edna watched as an unknown man fled the area, only to return seconds later and approach Ruby once more. Edna raced across the hall, believing her friend was being attacked but scared for her safety, to alert another resident, Herman Church. The couple hurried downstairs to discover Ruby, who was bleeding profusely from her right ear and barely conscious. Her assailant, however, had fled. As Edna sought to assist her injured companion, who lay incoherently babbling on the steps, Herman contacted the police. As Ruby was transported to a neighboring hospital, authorities investigated the site for evidence. Investigators uncovered a pair of rubber mallets, one with a blood-soaked handle, mere feet from Ruby's body. Ruby's empty handbag was also discovered nearby, but authorities questioned the possibility of a botched heist. According to the boarding house's owner, Elizabeth Eichhorn, she last spoke with Ruby around 3 p.m. The two had left at the same moment, with Elizabeth returning home and Ruby running errands. During a brief talk, Ruby informed Elizabeth that she planned to pay off a loan and her storage unit, as well as go to the movies. Elizabeth claimed Ruby only had $15 in cash and some change in a coin purse at the time. Investigators discovered Ruby had run her errands, but instead of going to the movies, she chose to stop by a nearby bar she liked for a drink. Martha Pemberton, a waitress at Pat's Tavern, informed authorities that Ruby arrived at the eatery at about 9:30 p.m. Ruby left at about 11 p.m., telling Martha that she planned to attend another pub before coming home for the evening. The second bar was the Piccadilly Bar, which was only a few blocks away from Ruby's home. According to workers and witnesses, Ruby stayed for about 50 minutes before departing just before midnight to make the short journey home. Ruby used change to pay her bills at both taverns. Doctors discovered Ruby had 2 head injuries, one above her right temple from one of the 2 rubber mallets, and the other on the back of her skull from a fall down the concrete stairs. Unfortunately, after telling detectives her name and age, Ruby lost consciousness and never awoke. She died from her injuries barely 2 days later. Her cause of death was described as a concussion of the brain. Unfortunately, the side entry to the house, which led almost directly into Ruby's bedroom, was dark, making it hard for Edna to describe Ruby's attacker to authorities. Edna told detectives that she had arrived home only 10 minutes before Ruby, but had used the home's illuminated front entrance. Edna was described as shaken by the occurrence, telling investigators solemnly, "It easily could have been me." The rubber mallets were taken as evidence, although they provided few insights. Although the blood found on the mallet was a match for Ruby's, authorities were unable to extract any fingerprints from it. Unfortunately, once detectives were unable to locate the owner of the rubber mallets, leads began to fade, and Ruby's case fell cold. Ruby had resided in Evansville for 15 years. She had no children and was never married. For the majority of her life, she worked as a seamstress, owning and maintaining a small sewing shop in town. However, 4 months before selling her home, Ruby had taken up temporary residence at the boarding house, where she continued to work as a seamstress. Everyone who knew her described her as a kind woman with no enemies who would want to hurt her. She was laid to rest at Evansville's Oak Hill Cemetery. My condolences go out to her family. Rest in peace, Ruby. Thanks for watching.